Redeveloping Grand Avenue is part of our efforts to invest in city neighborhoods by providing residents with amenities and programs to help them thrive. I look forward to having children's laughter once again fill these historic halls as we return Grand Avenue to a place of compassion and support for the community.
By providing youth services in Holden Heights and having a venue for community programs. This facility will strengthen the fabric of our neighborhood, teach our children well, and prepare them to lead the way. But most of all, it will give them a sense of pride.
Actually, I'm excited for the community to see the expansion of the Paramore Kids Zone and all the opportunities that Holden Heights now will have here at this center, and then to have the pottery studio and many activities going on. It's quite amazing, and it's well overdue.
As part of the American Cities Climate Challenge, we partnered with OUC and the Science Center to bring the Orlando Tiny Greenhouse today. Visitors have an opportunity to engage in a lot of cool interactive features that will be guiding them on how to save money and reduce their environmental impact. Even though this technology has evolved, not everybody can Good afternoon and welcome to the January 24th, 2022 meeting of the Orlando City Council. You'll note that I am appearing remotely or virtually today, and that's because late last week, both Susie and I tested positive for
COVID-19. We've experienced very mild symptoms, and I would credit that to the fact that we are both double vaxxed and then also have had our booster shot. So it's a good reminder to people that, yes, you can still get COVID if you have been vaccinated and boosted, but the likelihood is you'll have symptoms like I do that are very mild and nothing more than a light cold, instead ended up in the hospital or even dead. So get your vaccinations and get your booster shots. Okay, first up is the invocation and the pledge today, led by Commissioner Kari Burns. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Please join me for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to come to you in prayer and to petition for your strength, guidance, and wisdom as we deliberate and conduct the business of our great city. Lord, we lift Mayor Dyer and his wife Susan up in prayer as they recover from COVID-19. Also, Lord, I ask that you comfort the family of Corey Jones, the 15-year-old young man that was killed by gun violence this weekend. Lord, we ask for your supernatural wisdom as we contemplate interventions to end the senseless killing of our young people. Dear Lord, these are and other things we ask in your name. Amen.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make determination of the quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan?
Here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will take up the minutes from the agenda review and city council meetings of just January 10th, 2022.
Hard to see from home, huh? Artesian.
Okay, Madam Clerk, it's hard for me to hear people making the motion. You want to just identify the motion maker and second for me?
I have it moved by Commissioner Ortiz and seconded by Commissioner Sheehan.
All right, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And so the motion carries. Okay, we don't have any awards presentations or recognitions today, so I'll go right into the update. I mentioned that I was positive for COVID, so it's a good time to remind everybody that we have continued to have free testing at Camping World Stadium, and that's open 7 days a week. In the afternoons especially, there's not much of a wait time at all, so if you want or need to be tested, a good time to go is anytime after lunchtime. Just isn't going to take long anytime during the day. We also are working with other COVID-related issues, and we have been awarded an additional $6.8 million in relief funds related to emergency rental assistance programs. The application portal will be open again on February the 1st. You can gather your information at orlando.gov/assistance. I would encourage anybody that is considering applying for that to go ahead and go online, check your eligibility information and what documents that you might need. Commissioner Burns' birthday is between now and the next council meeting, so I want to wish him a happy early birthday and honor him by singing "Happy Birthday to You." Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Commissioner.
Happy birthday to you.
Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We got to pick that up a little bit. We got to get it better.
Yeah, we depend on Commissioner Ortiz to lead with that big bass voice he's got. Okay, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the historic opening of Steinmetz Hall, which it will really put Orlando on the cultural map in terms of having what I think is probably now the best performing arts center in the entire world. There's been a lot of celebrations, a lot of different types of events, different themes. It continues through the middle of next week, so I encourage people. They had a couple of open houses for people to tour, but it is a tremendous hall. Encourage everybody to have an opportunity to go see something there. Items of note on the agenda, downtown safety items. We implemented several initiatives to further our efforts against violent crime in downtown Orlando, and we all know that the success of our downtown is certainly dependent on people feeling safe. So building on that, we seek to approve the Safety Awareness for Everyone program that has initiatives aimed at increasing safety for everyone. During the CRA portion of the meeting, Thomas will be giving a presentation providing further background on all of those items. And then we have money from the American Rescue Plan Act that we'll be bringing forward a plan on how to use that. But the first bit of that funding we're going to use to expand violence intervention initiatives for our youth as an alternative to police enforcement. And as we do a lot, we are modeling it on programs that have been successful in other places. FBR and OPD will work together with national experts to implement the programs. With that, we will turn to the consent agenda, which is a number of items voted on through a single vote, approved through a single vote of council. We give each of our commissioners an opportunity to comment on the consent agenda and items important from their districts. We rotate the order we do that, and Commissioner Burns is first up today. Commissioner Burns.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to give kudos to the Mayor's MLK Commission and Marcia and her team for putting together this year's events for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. We had two significant events in District 6 to celebrate Dr. King, a cleanup at Lake Fran, as well as a green up at Eagle's Nest. We had hundreds of volunteers serving that morning. So I'd just like to say thank you to Jody Bias and Sean Hips for all that you do for our city and keeping our city living up to the name of the city beautiful. Last week I hosted my annual District 6 community meeting at Dr. James R. Smith Center. We had a robust turnout in person and via Facebook Live. I want to thank every city department that came out to give updates and to take a little heat with me from the residents. Your attendance was appreciated. So thank you to Code Enforcement, OPD, Public Works, Transportation, and Traffic. And I appreciate all you do for our residents and for sticking around to talk to them once the meeting was over. I also want to congratulate the new board of directors for the Haitian Chamber of Commerce. I enjoyed attending their installation ceremony last week here at City Hall, and I want to thank the Multicultural Affairs Department for hosting them and putting on such a great event. Lastly, I had the chance to attend the opening events at Steinmetz Hall last week, and I must say, after hearing Ms. Jennifer Hudson bring down the house, we have the best multi-form theater in the world. I'm grateful that we have such a fantastic performing arts center here in Orlando for our community to enjoy. So great job to the entire Dr. Phillips team, and thank you to Mayor Dyer and this council for your leadership in creating such a great facility. A few agenda items I'd like to highlight. Agenda item D1, the Community Violence Intervention Initiative. Gun violence is a public health issue that requires urgent attention and action. Far too often we hear of our young men and women killed by senseless gun violence, and this initiative will deploy additional resources to help combat the gun violence that exists in our community. So I'm 100% supportive of D1. Also, I'd like to express my support for items D3, the grant to the Central Florida Foundation Legacies Trust for Orlando Children. Also for item J2, the Conroy and Hidden Beach Boulevard in a local agreement. This is an agreement that outlines the roles and responsibilities of the City of Orlando and Orange County for the construction of a traffic signal at Conroy and Hidden Beach. The Hidden Beach community has been fighting for a traffic light at this intersection for, as I understand, for over 30 years. And I'm glad that we have finally have a plan to increase the safety at this intersection. I would like to thank Cade, Tanya, and Christina for your diligence in moving this project forward. And that completes my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Most of the activities are on my website. I will highlight two issues or two events that I was fortunate enough to attend. Got a tour of JetBlue's training facility out at the airport. I know Commissioner Ortiz has been there. It's a 100,000 square foot facility where they train all of their employees at JetBlue, from flight attendants all the way through their professional pilots. They lodge them, they feed them, and they train them, and it's a very impressive facility. We're lucky to have it in our neighborhood. So I wanted to say thank you to those folks for hosting us, and if you get a chance to go out and tour that, please do. It would be worth your effort. They have 11 full flight simulators going 24/7 training pilots. So impressive asset for our community. And then also over the weekend, we hosted out in Lake Nona the ladies professional golf tournament along with the celebrities. The first 2 days, Thursday and Friday, were perfect Chamber of Commerce days. Saturday and Sunday, not so much, a little cold. But look, everybody endured. We had a great time. I think it put not only the Lake Nona area, but certainly all of Orlando in a good light. And we were glad to host them. They'll be back next year. It's a 3-year contract, so we've got 2 more years. So thanks to everybody to help facilitate that, including our staff, with things like permits, et cetera, et cetera. So good for us. That was great. So with that, Mayor, that's all I have on this one.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like Commissioner Gray said, on Friday, January 14th, my staff and I had the pleasure of visiting JetBlue University, a training facility that JetBlue uses to train 100% of its new hires. Has been operating since 2005, and since then it has expanded over 105,000 square feet of space, including simulators. The pool for water landing training, that was pretty impressive. Reminded me of that Officer and Gentleman movie. I want to thank Jeff McGowan, Director of Learning Operations, and Natalie Martinez, the Manager of Government Affairs, for giving our staff the tour. And by the way, JetBlue is hiring. They're on track to hire 5,500 new employees this year. So those people listening out there, please get in contact with JetBlue. On Tuesday, January the 18th, my staff and I attended our first neighborhood association meeting of the year, Dover Manor Homeowners Association. They hosted their annual meeting at Dover Shores Neighborhood Center, where we discussed plans for the upcoming year, community safety, and legislations that could potentially impact our communities. On Thursday, January 20, my staff and I attended the Tri-County League of Cities luncheon for the swearing in of our new Tri-County League of Cities president, Mr. Norton Bonaparte, city manager of the city of Sanford. I want to thank our immediate past president and commissioner of Oakland, Mr. Joseph McMullen, who did a great job during the pandemic, and congratulate Mr. Bonaparte as a new president of the Tri-County League of Cities. On Saturday, January 22nd, I guess we all did, attended the Steinmetz Hall grand opening. It has been a treasure to witness the construction of each phase of Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts, and it is truly a stunning work of architecture. I'm excited for its continued success in bringing the arts to life for city residents and visitors. The sound was exquisite. By all means, I could hear every instrument of the Royal Philharmonic. It was amazing. But what's really, really exciting about the opening of the Steinmetz Hall and the completion of the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts is the fact that opens up a world of opportunities for our children and for the generations to come. And that is exciting. So I want to thank Mayor Dyer for his vision, Mr. Jim Pugh, Ms. Kathy Ransberger, and all those involved during from day one on the creation and development of this majestic building. Talking about legislations and the legislature up in Tallahassee, first of all, I want to invite our people to pick up the magazine, the Gazette, District 2 Gazette, and this particular issue contains and showcases the legislative agenda for the city of Orlando, in particular, 4 items that we're really paying attention. One of them to be short-term rentals, tree protection, regulation of smoking in public places, and net metering. That's probably one of the most important ones that we have here, right, Commissioner Sheehan? Net metering. It explains a little bit about it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to everybody's attention is because once again, we need to get involved. Enough of allowing the state government to make decisions for our municipalities. We need to call our legislators and tell them that we're paying attention. And if they're not satisfying the needs of our communities, we need to get them out of office. Simple as that, just like with any of us. If we're not doing what we're supposed to do for you, get us out of office. We need to be working for the people here. So one of the important items, because I've seen in social media, I've seen some remarks about housing. Well, the legislature, there's a big piece of legislation. It's called the Sadowski Fund, passed years ago, and 20% of every dollar from dog stamps is supposed to go to this Sadowski Fund for housing, to help our seniors, veterans, to rehab housing and all kinds of goodies for our communities. The legislature for the past 5 to 6 years, even more, have been grabbing those monies and allocating them in other functions. And we're not getting a fair part of that money in order for us to help our constituents. We need that money. We use CDBG monies from the federal government, and we use these monies to help our constituents, to help our seniors in our municipalities. Well, last year, I guess they decided that instead of the 20%, they will be allocating just 9.3 or 9.7%. Am I correct in this, Owen Henry? And it's almost, not quite 50% of what we're supposed to be allocated. Well, that's not enough. True, we have a huge crisis, housing crisis, but with this amount of money, we're not going to make it. We still have the total amount of money that was supposed to be allocated to our communities. So we need our residents. This is a call to all our residents in the city of Orlando and in the county, if you're watching this particular council, to call your representatives in Tallahassee. It will take you less than 5 minutes to call the two of them, the House representative and the senator, and let them know that they need to get back the Sadowski Fund in the books and allocate the total amount that is supposed to be allocated to our communities. Enough is enough. And we're going to be watching. And Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor. And let me kind of continue that same thought. To give an idea, the Sadowski Fund over the last 10 years has, the state has effectively rated that by $4 billion of money that was set aside specifically for housing. And so when people come to us and want us to do more housing, we can do more housing, but we need leverage from the federal government as well as from the state government. And once you accomplish that task, you have an incredible impact on our community. So Commissioner Ortiz is correct. Sadowski Fund needs to be fully funded and needs to be used for its purpose that was created 30 years ago. So thank you for that. A couple of quick things. Mayor, get well soon. Glad to see you on air, but I wish you'd worn a tie. It would make us all feel a little bit better. I want to say a special thanks to all those involved in the Steinmetz Hall. It was absolutely magnificent. If you hadn't had a chance to see over there, it's as Jim Pugh says, you can drop a nickel on the stage and hear it all the way in the top. So it's really, really, really well done. I want to highlight one thing. On the first opening night, they did some great stuff with bringing some people on board. They had Michael Feinstein that was there, and they brought some local talent, that is people who are from Orlando, to come back and be there. Had one from Boone High School, who was the most recent award for the Broadway up-and-comer. I don't know what the name it is, but it's basically the up-and-coming Broadway singer and actress. Very, very talented lady. And the other two were two Edgewater High School graduates. I just have to make sure I share that with all of y'all. Norm Lewis and Davis Gaines, who both are former Broadway actors who have both performed on The Phantom. But they're from Orlando, Florida. And I think it sends a signal that we have talent here in Orlando, and now we have a place for the talent to be showcased. And I'm really excited about that. So, and of course, Jennifer Hudson the other night just brought down the halls. It was just wonderful. We'll say special congratulations to a couple of people who will be approving today in our advisory committees. As I mention and share with us often, that we can't do this work without citizens who are committed, and our advisory committees are how we do that. So to John Crossman, Angela Torito, and Kevin Dunleavy are three that from my district who have decided to step up and provide their time and their expertise. I'm thrilled about them. Got a couple of upcoming things I want to share. It's Poemville at Lobos Coffee over in Audubon Park Garden District. So right now you can get a free original poem sleeve for your coffee drink done by the students over at Audubon Park K8. Really kind of a neat little way to engage the business. The Mellow is having a free family fun day on February 13th. It's a good weekend to bring out your favorite Valentines as well, and they'll be hosting a special Black History Month presentation by Dr. Lynn Casimir Paz entitled "Genealogy Stories." So. Also, starting in February, we're going to celebrate 14 Days of Love in District 3, but we're going to call it 14 Days of Loving Small Business. So we're going to highlight small businesses for the first 14 days of Valentine's Day, so someplace you can take your Valentine to talk about the importance of small business in our community. So look for those coming out. And then, of course, we're have some fun with the dog segment. So Chief, where is... Chief, we need some dogs from the firehouse to be able to focus. So if you'll give us a couple, we'll be glad to share them and tell the world how important these are. It's a good, fun way to be engaged in the city. On the agenda today, I want to just highlight one brief thing. We get funding from all kinds of sources, and we do really neat things throughout the community. One of those things that we do today is that we're authorizing a $4,500 gift over to the National Latino Police Officers Association, and for the Three Kings event. We do it often. We do it every year. It's an important thing. But I'll tell you, we have these opportunities to share and touch the lives of our constituents. And that's just one small way that we do it. And it touches the lives of hundreds. I think, right, Anna? If I remember correctly, I'm thinking 400 or 500 kids that are involved and engaged in that. And Tony, of course, has taken a great deal of leadership in that, and I appreciate that. But that's just one thing we do. It's on the agenda today, and I want to share that with you. And the other is we're approving some funding, or a grant about gun violence. So thank you, Commissioner Burns. That's on the agenda today for us to continue that initiative to stop gun violence in our community. And that's all that I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and wish you and Susie the best and as you recover from COVID. And I'm just glad that we have ways to still conduct our city council meetings in spite of it. And want to thank the IT folks here at City Hall who've worked very, very hard to make sure we can do this seamlessly. Ever since the very beginning of COVID, it was a really good job, and now we see how very, very important that is. And I'd like to join my colleagues in saying that I fully support D1, the Community Violence Intervention Initiative. Deadly weapons are not the way to resolve conflict, and it's having way too much impact on our young people. And we got to do everything that we can to make sure that we try to keep our communities safe. But as long as we have unfettered guns on the streets, more people are going to die, and it's just a crying shame. I also was able to attend the Dr. Philip Steinmetz Hall events, and it really was stunning. And as a young girl who came here from Cleveland, Ohio, and saw the Cleveland Orchestra play in an elegant hall, came down here and saw the Florida Symphony play in a terrazzo hall with folding chairs, was a very different experience. And then to serve on a council, to be able to open that gorgeous hall, one of the best in the nation, and probably in the world, and to hear such beautiful music, it does make a difference. And education and music and those kinds of experiences do change lives. So, kudos to everyone involved. And Mayor Dyer, it was absolutely a stunning evening. And I also want to recognize Mayor Glenda Hood, who I got to serve with when I first got elected in the year 2000. Glenda really helped put together those parcels in the very beginning when everybody thought it was crazy for us to have a performing arts center downtown. So I just want to thank her for her leadership. And, we had a saying, build them all, build them right, build them now. We didn't get them all now, but we certainly got them all, and we certainly got them right. So that was just amazing to be able to experience that. I'd also like to add to what Commissioner Ortiz said with the Sadowski funds. That's a lot of money that could have been, building affordable housing in our communities over the last decade. And unfortunately, the state government has seen fit to steal the money, basically, and from the dock stamps that the realtors, it's their own money. The realtors wanted that money to go to affordable housing, and the legislature just will not listen. And something else that's also very frustrating as a local elected official, I'm hearing from people now who cannot afford rent. And Mayor Demings worked to try to do some rent control initiatives, and he was preempted on that as well. So people say, local elected officials quit pointing fingers. The problem is that we've got a legislature who will not listen to anyone but lobbyists, who do not understand the will of the people. They have committee meetings when the people cannot attend, and they just do the will of lobbyists, and it's very hard for us. Actually, they make it impossible for us. Shoot, they even make laws that make us go to jail if we do things they don't like. So, it makes it very hard for us at the local level to be responsive to our citizens. And we're not trying to point fingers. We're just trying to say that these preemptions that Commissioner Ortiz talks so passionately about do have an impact on your life. And so that's why we talk about why these things are so very important. Rent control could do a lot to help a lot of the people in this community, and we just can't do anything about it because we have a legislature that thinks, solving a transportation problem is calling their driver. Frankly, they're all a bunch of rich frat boys that can't get the job done. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you very much.
That might be enough.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Mayor. And of course, my best to you and Susie, and you look good, and we hope to see you again soon. I like the other commissioners' support D1 and D3, and D1 is really special to me. I like to thank Lisa Early, Brenda March, and Chief Malone. We've been working on it along with Mayor Dyer. I don't want anyone to think that this just happened today. We have been working on this for almost 6 years. Myself with Chief Mina at the time, and then it was also Sheriff, which is the mayor now, Demings, when we started out on this journey, when there was quite a bit of youth violence throughout the West Side, along with Bishop Cabarrus that happened to be sitting in the audience. And we went to the mayor, and he supported this agenda. Then it was called, what was it called then, Lisa? Ceasefire. And it cost a lot of money. And we tried to mill it together, and we just still couldn't do it. So today is a great day, especially in light of another child has been murdered right here in the city of Orlando. But I do believe in this program and all the wraparound services and housing and working with our law enforcement agencies in addressing mental health, because that is truly the core, I do believe, of some of the violence that we have is this mental health component. And I was able to go deep down into the basement today and find that plan we put together, Chief, when we all was meeting Bishop upstairs for about 6 months, and it was community-led, and it was about urban crime prevention. And I was with the community leaders, and what's so special about it, Deborah Clayton helped lead this. And so hopefully we can look at this again, Chief and Lisa, because it talks about everything that we have right here in this initiative. And for her and her leadership to be a part of it might be something special.
Deborah to die from gun violence, too.
Yep, and she died from gun violence. So, so I just glad I was able to find that and had some good stuff that we all put together, along with Chief Rallone and Chief Mina and the Sheriff Department, but more so the community leaders. You all drove this. We just provided a space and assistance. And then on CRA 5, I will be voting no again on this, and I'll expand a little later. I'm not anti-marijuana, recreational or medical, but I am anti the city of Orlando retrofitting buildings for marijuana labs, grow houses, or dispensaries, especially there in the Paramore area where it would be, a community that has been negatively impacted by drugs for generations and generations. And we're still having repercussions of that, Chief. And we lock people up over there every day for drug offenses and marijuana offenses. So I think it'll be hypocritical for us to use the same tax dollars for a private person to benefit. Up and coming things that's happening in District 5. On January 26, 12:30, I'll be downtown for the Break Art Kickoff. And that is something being led by our Arts District, Mrs. Harley, there at the Seaside Plaza, where they will be having daily shows there in that plaza. And that's why they call it On Your Lunch Break, the break for art. And on January 27th at 10:30, I'll be joining Mayor Dyer and Commissioner Burns for the groundbreaking of the Orange Center Boulevard Townhomes and the mixed income apartments and retail space, which is a great project when we start talking about affordable housing and home ownership. Long time coming there. I think that's the only home ownership that has been built in decades there in the Orange Center District 6, District 5 corridor. And then on February the 4th, myself and Commissioner Burns and our Economic Development team and our MWBE team will join Commissioner Burns at the J.R. Smith Center to work with Hannibal Square and CTG Construction to make sure that we have minority subs to build out that project. So that will be on February the 4th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Dr. Smith Center. On February the 5th, I've partnered with Orange County, Florida Department of Health, and we will be hosting the National Black HIV and AIDS Day event there at Lake Larned Park. And if you want to be a vendor, you can contact Centel Jarrett. She's over Human Services Program Consultant and Minority AIDS Coordinator there at Orange County Health Department. And our Recreation Department is helping with that, Lisa. And it's going to be a great day for all. Orange Blossom Health Center is going to be providing vaccines and free COVID testing, along with Orange County Health Department with the HIV/AIDS testing. And with that, I'll move the agenda forward, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, if there's no objection, we're going to recess the city council meeting and convene the CRA meeting. Thomas, you want to come up and give us an overview of some of the safety awareness for everyone measures and other items related to safety in downtown?
Absolutely. Okay, can everybody hear me all right? I'm sorry, I removed this. Well, thank you and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners and ladies and gentlemen. As the Mayor indicated, I'd like to take you through a short deck and sort of provide an overview, if you will, that we've entitled, we think, something that is indicative of our collective expressions, and that is that we all share a continued commitment to safety in downtown. So first, on the agenda today, you will notice three items that I'll overview here. CRA 4 is the Community Policing and Innovation Initiatives. CRA 6 is the new Safety Awareness for Everyone, or SAFE program. And then, of course, there's Ordinance number 2022-11, which would be extending the present moratorium on speakers in the public right-of-way for another 6 months. Just some context quickly to remind everybody of how we got here and why we're focusing on this, as the Mayor directed us to laser focus on this item. First, I'm going to point out that Florida statute, in this case Part 3, Chapter 163, actually specifically authorizes CRAs to develop and implement community policing innovations. In addition to that, the DT Outlook, which is our Community Redevelopment Area Plan, our Bible, if you will, of the CRA, calls on the CRA to improve the perception and the reality of safety within the downtown redevelopment area by supporting the implementation of community policing innovations. Sadly, I'll remind you that on May 2nd, in the early morning hours of May 2nd, Joseph Torres, a 34-year-old military veteran, was fatally wounded by gunfire in the downtown area. And that had followed a few weeks, about 3 weeks behind or after another incident where about 10, 12 or 15 individuals were involved in a violent brawl out around the confluence of East Pine and Court Avenue when shots were also fired. And as I talked to you about some 6 months ago when I came before you, anecdotally, if you talk to both the police department, OPD, code enforcement, talk to myself, because I go out late nights from time to time, we had noticed really what I termed a street party environment or atmosphere that was prevalent throughout the downtown area, and we felt that that might be somehow contributing to the increase in violence or criminal activity. So, at our request, and we very much appreciate it, back in May of last year, you approved the outdoor speaker moratorium through January 31st of this year. You also approved the community policing innovations where there was $800,000 in CRA funding that was approved for increased police presence in downtown, as well as increased code enforcement officers and a series of cameras, both iris-type cameras that were actually surveillance cameras that will be tied into the FUSIS system that OPD is implementing, and some license tag readers. All of that has either been accomplished, is ongoing, or has been set forth in action on the procurement standpoint. Additionally, we have been embarking in a complete upgrade of the lighting system throughout the Central Business District, changing out some 305 fixtures within the Central Business District and going from sodium to LED lighting. That project is 90% complete. We appreciate OUC for prioritizing that and getting the work completed for us. Some new light poles have been installed as well, and you can see the total investment there is just over $472,000. The increased policing efforts, of course, the additional cameras that I just talked about, the increased presence of actually on-duty police officers within downtown, particularly on the weekends and for special events. Happy to state that OPD's Real-Time Crime Intel Center is now operating 24 hours a day with the monitoring and whatnot, and other things are going on. And I'll tell you that city staff, I know that not only DDB-CRA, but planning staff, code enforcement staff, many members of the director's office from the Economic Development Department, the city attorney's office, all of us have been collaborating with the Orlando Police Department on an ongoing basis, on a weekly basis throughout this time. There have been 5 community meetings where these things could be discussed. 4 of them were hosted by the Orlando Police Department, and last week the DDB-CRA hosted a webinar for the edification of the public as well. In addition to the increased policing efforts, as I noted before, 2 full-time code enforcement officers now working downtown at night, and during that 6-month period of time, from June to this month, as you can see, there are more than 1,000 inspections that have taken place by code enforcement in downtown businesses. These are nighttime businesses, and though I'm sure there have been dozens and dozens and dozens of verbal warnings, I'm happy to report that there's actually been only 13 written noise warnings and only 16 citations for being out of compliance with the noise ordinance. The stakeholders of the food and beverage and hospitality business within downtown Orlando would have me point out that coming to compliance, as you can see the next bullet point, code enforcement has observed, and so have we, that the businesses have been compliant, but they would have me tell you that that has not come without some due adverse impact or pain on their behalf. You may recall that on Halloween, unfortunately, and that's the biggest night of the year, by the way, for downtown, we had additional violence. And so as we prepare for the next biggie, which is New Year's Eve, I think we wisely agreed to kind of change things up a bit. And we had a pilot that we called Controlled Access into downtown, and it brought about coordinated entry points where our pedestrians would have to come in order to enter the central business district or the downtown entertainment area. We had additional security personnel for those, and we also had weapons detection dogs available. Clearly, we were sending the signal that weapons are not welcome in downtown Orlando, and that if you're going to come into downtown Orlando and misbehave, that you're going to be noticed and you're going to be held accountable. Additionally, I should say, you recall not long ago you passed the Sidewalk Cafe program for the CRA that makes on a dollar for dollar basis, or up to 50% with a not to exceed of $5,000 available to businesses in the downtown for the barriers and the furnishings that go with their sidewalk cafes. That was in order to raise the standards of those sidewalk cafes, which we very much desire to have. I don't think you'll find any downtowner, any of my colleagues across the nation or perhaps the world that won't say that we encourage sidewalk cafes. So that is something we encourage. However, this was a way to raise the standards of those, enhance the aesthetics and the functionality of those sidewalk cafes. And finally, leading, hopefully by example, the city's parking lots throughout downtown, as you see, have done several things to improve this situation. There have been lighting enhancements there. They've enhanced the monitoring of the camera systems, and there's increased security that has been deployed at those parking lots and decks. So that's where we are. So where are we headed? What are the next steps for safety enhancements? CRA item number 4 today will ask you to continue allowing us to embark on a collaborative effort to sustain at least for another 6 months an additional presence of police officers, on-duty police officers within downtown, an additional continued presence of the code enforcement officers that are in downtown now, as well as a continued implementation of measures consistent with our charge to enhance perception and reality of public safety in downtown. The funding for this, I'll point out, as I did in your briefings, is $1 million, and you previously approved that funding in a budget amendment, which is included in this year's budget. You approved that in early December in your meeting. CRA item 6 today is the Safety Awareness for Everyone program that the mayor mentioned in his remarks at the beginning of the meeting. This is creating an incentive for business and property owners, both tenants and property owners, to purchase and install various security measures on the exterior of those businesses. First, it includes identification or ID scanners. And to qualify for the funding for this program, those scanners would have to meet at least 2 criteria, including others, but they must be able to capture a live photo of persons coming through, which is extremely important since you have a problem with an individual later on. You can isolate that, ID that person, and send that photo around, because those systems also have to have the capability of sharing information between similar ID scanners. So it's a very sophisticated ID scanning system that we're willing to incentivize. Additionally, security cameras. And these security cameras would have to be consistent with or compatible to and would have to be registered with the Orlando Police Department's FUSIS program, which, as I said earlier, OPD is in the midst of implementing as we speak, which will vastly increase the network of cameras that are able to be monitored by the police department, so that they can really have a great, very comprehensive view throughout the area. And finally, also this program is pertinent to metal detection systems or wanding devices, if you will. Again, obviously designed to preclude weapons from coming in to the various venues. The funding for the SAFE program, and that program would offer a 50-50 match, like many of our programs do, with a not to exceed of $10,000 for each application. We've allocated $500,000 in the budget to fund that program at this time, with your approval. Finally, outdoor speaker moratorium. So city staff is recommending an extension of the 6-month moratorium that we came and that you granted, we came to you, requested, and you granted in May. This would take us through August of this year. I want to remind you that a moratorium applies to speakers that are within the public right-of-way. So they're either on the sidewalks or roadways, or they're on the exterior buildings pointed at the sidewalk and the roadways. It does not affect speakers that are on private property at all, even those that are, say, on rooftops or on courtyards or patios. The DEA, the downtown entertainment area, I want to point out to you, was defined back in 2009 and allows for increased decibel levels of 5 additional decibels, I believe, within the core of downtown for specific days and times. The following point shows you those 5 decibels. So it allows within the DEA for a higher degree of sound by 5 decibels for 2 hours longer on weekdays and for 4 hours longer on weekends compared to other areas throughout the city. Those allowable decibel levels have remained unchanged since they were increased back in 2009. And staff has determined, and that's why we're asking for this additional or this extension. We've determined that additional time and information is required in order to further evaluate how to regulate sound amplification. There's a lot of meeting, a lot of discussions going on as to what to eventually bring to you sitting as City Council as recommendations from staff for any policy changes that you would have to make. Those might or might not include amendments to ordinances. So finally, I'd like to point out that the nighttime economy study that you've heard about for quite some time from Sound Diplomacy, we are told that we should have that now within the next 3 to 6 weeks. And so having that study will also further inform the recommendations that staff makes to you as City Council / CRA in the future. Finally, I'd like to point out that we have, you recall that we had lost our first nighttime economy manager, Dominique Greco, and that we have now found, we think, an excellent person for the position. His name is Justin Eason. Is Justin even in the room? I hadn't come out. Is he here? I'm sure he's upstairs watching us on the camera then. Justin comes, as you can see there, with over 9 years experience in the hospitality business right here in downtown Orlando. He worked his way through UCF by working in the hospitality industry. This young man when you get to meet him, make him talk a little bit about himself and his story. He has a very compelling story that I think is very impressive. He comes to us as an advanced planner, a senior planner from Osceola County. And he also formerly worked with a very respectable planning firm, Polis & Bennett. As you can see, he has an undergraduate degree in public administration and a master's in urban and regional planning, both from University of Central Florida, or UCF, go Knights. And he is certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. He has his AICP. With that, Mayor, if it's appropriate, and the attorney, because I know this is a little different for CRA, but if there are questions, I'm happy to take those at this time.
Okay, questions, comments?
Yes, I have one, Mayor. Thank you. Thomas, for the SAFE program, for the funding, it says receives up to $10,000. Is there any instances or situations that we would consider allowing those businesses to exceed that $10,000?
Well, the program called, as I said, the program is a 50-50, and with a not to exceed of 10. Commissioner, I'm trying to rake my mind to see if there's precedent for us for doing that. I'm not recalling at this time that we've ever made a recommendation to exceed the program's criteria from that regard. We do recognize, I will say this about that, we would expect that many of these, so 10,000, that means $20,000 total. We bring about the 10,000, anything over 20,000. For smaller operators, they probably won't approach that number. For some of the larger venues that have several points of entry that may need that equipment, they could exceed that number. And so as we talk through that and try to determine, or what a balanced approach would be, is why we landed where we landed. But I would say two other things to that. One is, if that becomes a trend that we're seeing that is it's not high enough, certainly would appreciate the opportunity to come back to you and talk about that trend and establishing that need. And two is, we would not be surprised, Mayor and Commissioners, if we have a need to come back for more funding. If enough businesses avail themselves to this program, we think that there's going to be wide support and acceptance of it. You never know until you implement it, so you haven't approved it yet, so we don't know. But it may be that the 500,000 gets exhausted. So something as important as this, that not only sends a message as far as perception, but helps create the reality of how close-knit, how tight the security is in downtown, and the safety, and therefore the safety associated with that, we would certainly come back and ask for additional funds if we thought it was appropriate.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Thomas, for that report, and please convey our thanks also to the advisory board. You guys are doing an excellent job. I noticed that code enforcement has intervened 1,066 times, to which there have issued 13 warnings and 16 citations. So that comes about to 1% of the interventions. 1% has resulted in warnings and 1.5 in actual citations. It's practically nothing. So having that in mind, I'm really looking forward to that study, because by all means, I think it's probably time for us to review our decibels and how we can better also help the nighttime business community, if it's possible. And but do you have a time allocated to where this study is going to take place?
The nighttime economy study is wrapping up as we speak. I spoke with the consultant today, in fact, and I would expect that we will have our initial draft again somewhere in the next 3 to 6 weeks, Commissioner. As is always the case, a draft will come in. We'll vet that draft internally. We'll make comments. We'll ask questions. Why didn't you include this? What does this mean? And and we'll go back and forth for probably a couple of weeks with the consultant before they finalize their study, and then the official study will come down to us. So, but we're right there. So again, we think 3 to 6 weeks from now, we should have it.
Are we having a lot of complaints from the residents downtown about noise?
Noise complaints are, there's a certain ebb and flow to them over the years. In the 15 years that I've been here, not quite 15 years next month, but, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Commissioner Gray is going to let me stay around another month, I hope. I'll make 15. But in the 15 years that I've had the honor and the pleasure and the responsibility of serving as your executive director of Downtown Development Board, there has been an ebb and flow of noise complaints. And I hope you all are aware, Mayor Dyer's office and this administration is extremely sensitive to every email, letter, text that we get that is a complaint. And so we take them all very seriously. And so at any given time, you will find somewhere between 0 and 3 people, maybe 5, within all of downtown that are consistently bombarding us with noise complaints. 3 people, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And that'll ebb, and then it'll go down to 1, maybe, and then for a while it'll be fairly quiet. So throughout this, code enforcement has done a great job of tracking all of that, as is the police department. They're now tracking noise complaints as well. And so there's been the usual ebb and flow. We've had some of the prevalent noise, I don't want to say complainers, but people that have been bringing about noise complaints, I guess it is complainers, have actually sent in an email and said, thank you for what you're doing, you know, I've noticed it's different and that sort of thing. But on any given particularly weekend, is where you have a confluence of residential as well as in the middle of an entertainment district, you know, there's going to be some of that. So we continue to have the usual ebb and flow of noise complaints.
Thomas, if it's just that many, I mean, that few people, it may be even a lot cheaper just to come up with a grant to put some sort of soundproof walls on the apartments or residences of these people that are having problems with it, instead of spending all these other monies, you know, on code enforcement. It may be a lot cheaper just to soundproof this residences, you know, for them and help them out that way.
Duly noted, sir. I'm sure it's on the record, and we could take a look at that.
I'm just an idea. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Mr. Hill?
I was just going to echo Thomas, just to let Commissioner Ortiz know, I've received many of those emails also, and Mayor Dyer and his staff are very, very prompt on addressing those few complaints that come in. But some of the emails that I have received since we've implemented this plan is thank you, and that they do see a noted difference.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner.
Anybody else? Okay, Thomas, why don't we move on to the
All right.
regular agenda, and I will take the first three. The first one's accepting the advisory board minutes from December 1st. Is there a motion to accept
Second.
those? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 2 is CRA meeting minutes from November 8th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And the third is CRA from December 6th, 2021.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Thomas, you're up.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And item number 4 is approving community policing innovation initiatives. As I just stated, Florida statute, particularly Part 3, Chapter C, 163, specifically authorizes CRAs to develop and implement community policing initiatives or innovations, and also our downtown outlook, our redevelopment area plan, calls on us to improve the perception and reality of safety within the downtown area. This initiative would allow the city and the CRA to continue working together on short-term enhancements to the visible police presence within the downtown area, as well as implement other safety and security measures to enhance the safety of the area. The advisory board has recommended approval, and if there are no other questions, staff is requesting CRA approval of the implementation of community policing innovation initiatives and approving expenditures from the Downtown Orlando Community Redevelopment Area Trust Fund up to the budgeted amounts for such initiatives. And again, recall that budgeted amount is $1 million.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thomas, let's go ahead and do number 6 while we're on
All
the
right.
safety program, and then come back to life.
All right, thank you. Item number 6 is approving the Safety Awareness for Everyone, or SAFE program. Again, the DT Outlook emphasizes the need for the community, for the CRA to support and improve the perception and reality of public safety. And additionally, the plan calls on the CRA to encourage the retention and continued operations of existing businesses. So the SAFE program, as I just indicated, encourages downtown bars, nightclubs, entertainment venues, but also other commercial buildings, multifamily buildings, or commercial buildings to enhance their security measures outside. The program offers financial assistance to qualifiants for up to a 50-50 match, not to exceed of $10,000 for security systems, including ID scanners, metal detectors, as well as, what else? I'm missing something. Security cameras, that's it, I'm sorry. And the security cameras have to be tied into the FUSA system of OPD that they're implementing now.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, Thomas, and number 5.
All right, number 5 is approving downtown commercial and residential building improvement program funding agreement between the CRA and Robert E. Clark II Family Trust for 805 West Central Boulevard. I know that you all are very familiar with this. I'll just give you, just to remind you. Program offers a 3-year interest-free deferred loan for facade and/or building stabilization improvements to existing properties within the CRA area. Program offers matching funds to offset the cost of eligible improvements. This applicant is located at 805 West Central and has applied for assistance under the program for facade and building stabilization improvements, including painting, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and life safety improvements. The program provides an opportunity for the CRA to reimburse up to 50% with a not to exceed in the Paramore area of $120,000. The applicant's approved proposed improvements are estimated to cost just over $265,000, resulting in them being potentially qualified for the maximum of $120,000. The Grant Review Committee has recommended approval. Do we want to stop right there for discussion before I go into the question?
Sure, I would like to.
Sure.
Thank
Commissioner Hill.
you, Mayor. If you can give me the privilege to, I think Pastor Spooney wants to speak, but he came in a little late. Are you able to allow him to speak, Mayor?
Well, usually we don't have speakers at CRA. You do it at agenda review.
Yeah.
And if I make exceptions for
Okay.
one, I make exceptions for all.
Yes, sir. I understand. Well, thank you, and I think staff has heard my concerns. There's no need to keep digging deep in there, but I do think this is something that the city, due to the fact that this is a marijuana lab, I don't think the city support, or maybe you can tell me, do we use CRA funding for bars and things of that nature, or anything related to the alcohol, like if you was going to do a bar?
I mean, obviously, the SAFE program that we just approved is for bars and other things, but not directly related to the alcohol content. This is related to security, particularly from the exterior coming in.
Right.
So the answer to that question is yes, we do make funding available to bars for some programs, but it's not directly tied to the inventory of the food and beverage that they serve.
Okay, so that's where I am, commissioners, is that this is directly related to marijuana for this trust. It's not related to the applicant or the owner of the building. It's for a trust that will be dispensing marijuana, will be testing marijuana, but we still have laws set in place, unfortunately, here at the City of Orlando, where we arrest people. Most definitely, if we look at the numbers in our indigenous communities, the black and brown communities, for marijuana consumption and marijuana sales. So here, the city is going to retrofit a building for marijuana sales in some sort, whether it's deliveries to homes or testing. It still encompasses something that we have not legalized here in the City of Orlando. And I just don't think this is appropriate for us to give funding to. I'm not saying it can't be done there in that area, but it should be done primarily by the owner, and the city should not support it with with government tax dollars or our citizens' tax dollars. And with that, hopefully I can get the support of my colleagues with the understand the negative impact that this has in a historic community that has been impacted for generations and generations by drugs.
Mr. Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. The difficulty that I've got with that, Commissioner, is that while I fully support marginalized communities, I do not agree that drug offenses, what has disproportionately impacted the African American community, should have been prosecuted. That's why this council took action with the police department to make sure that we aren't prosecuting those minor offenses now, because it did disproportionately impact the African American community. My issue and my concern is that a vast majority of Floridians voted and approved medical marijuana, and it has helped many, many people, my own family members included, with pain, because we have an opioid epidemic, and I do believe that medical marijuana, I've seen it help so many people that I'm close to, and that the majority of Floridians have passed that, and then it's our responsibility to find places to site these facilities. The way I understand it, this is a testing facility, not a dispensary, and I want to make sure that the product is tested properly to make sure that it's safe. So I understand your concerns, but the problem that I have is that the applicant went through the process, a fair process. It is a legal business. And I don't think that it is, it is going to be a deleterious use. And I have had dispensaries located in my district.
Well, keep them there.
Well, and like I say, I mean, if this facility had been located in my district, and I have welcomed the dispensaries in my district.
And I have some downtown, Commissioner. And thank you very much, ma'am. You don't understand our struggle over there in Paramore and what you don't understand. But if it was somewhere near with a whole different agenda, I don't think you'll be saying that. But I understand.
Commissioner Gray?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Thomas, yes. I heard the word dispensary. I was understanding it's simply testing. Is there a dispensary?
My understanding is that it is a testing facility of some type. And let me just say this, Commissioner, on behalf of staff and the advisory board. This program does not require, does it really allow us to get into details as to what the operations will be at, or this is really a facade program. And so we're not sometimes fully informed on what's going to go on inside, and that's not part of the criteria for the program. So I may not have all the facts there, that's why I'm saying all of that. But my understanding is that it will be some type of testing facility.
Okay, so I guess...
And delivery.
My point is I wanted to clarify that, and with that clarification, I agree with Commissioner Sheehan. Whether you like it or not, it's a legal use, and there's no reason we shouldn't support this. They're following our rules of the program. It's a legal use, and I don't see any reason for us not to approve this one. So thank you for the clarification. Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Hill, I agree with you on 99% of the issues that come before us, but I agree with Commissioner Sheehan and Commissioner Gray. The land use is appropriate. It's a legal business. They went through a program that we provide to make appearances of buildings, enhance the community, and I just think we have to follow our processes here. It's legal, it's zoned right, and they did everything they did to satisfy the criteria of a program that we set up.
Well, Mayor, we need to do something about this technicality here, okay? No, there is no kind of guardrails for this community. So next we're just going to open up the floodgates while we're locking up black and brown people every day and just let these rich businessmen that look like the guys to my right that don't see a problem with flooding my community with drugs. And people making a profit in millions. But every day, we're locking up, and people are killing one another. In that same
Commissioner, I don't think there's anybody
sorry,
on the
sir.
line.
I'm going to talk tonight, Mayor, if you give me the liberty, sir.
Go
You
ahead.
don't have a drug arrest. I do. For marijuana. cut my career, and I had to struggle. I had to struggle to where I'm at right now because of drugs and Paramore. And now you guys say it's legal. Well, it's not legal to what I had to go through and what every other girl and boy have to go through over there to overcome. But now you're gonna bring it to our neighborhood. Keep it in Thornton Park. Take it to Lake Nona. It's just not right that we're supporting it. No matter what's legal, we sit on this dais and should have a conscience on what impact other people that are indigenous, that don't have a voice. And I'm sorry. I mean it, and that's why they voted me. Because I'm going to always speak up for them, right or wrong. Finish.
Okay, somebody want to make a
That's enough for
motion?
me.
Mayor, if I could, Commissioner, I'm sorry for your personal issues, but let's not be confused. There are drugs in poor neighborhoods and rich neighborhoods. There are drugs in white neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, Latino neighborhoods. Drugs are all over. I'm
Look
sorry
at
for your
the
personal
numbers.
issues, but
Look at
as
the
we've
numbers.
said, we have rules, we have guidelines, and we have to treat everybody the same.
Look at
This
the
is an
numbers.
applicant, please, I'd listen to you, I would
I don't
appreciate
want to hear
it.
nothing you got to say, sir.
Commissioner Hill?
I'll save it, Mayor, because there's no reception at the other end. I'll save
Right.
it, thank you.
It isn't.
Commissioner Gray, you got a motion?
Do I need to read the statement?
Excuse me, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Motion by Gray, second by Sheehan. Further discussion?
Mayor,
Commissioner
I-
Burns?
I'd like to add, I do side with Commissioner Hill, because if we look historically, our African-American communities have been disproportionately impacted by drug arrests, and I do agree that the city's resources should not be used to retrofit, because we're talking about a testing facility now. Is there anything that would restrict it from becoming a dispensary or delivery facility? And I have not heard any of that. So I will be voting against allowing the funding to go to this project.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Madam Clerk, I couldn't tell all the votes. I had at least four yay votes.
Commissioner Ortiz voted against it.
I have Commissioner Hill, no. Commissioner Burns, no. Commissioner Ortiz, no. And all others in favor?
Yes.
Okay, so it passes 4-3. All right, Thomas, any further business to come before the CRA?
There's none, Mayor. Thank you.
Then we will stand adjourned. We'll reconvene the city council meeting. We move to hearings, ordinances on second reading. Madam Clerk, number 1.
Ordinance number 2021-77, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning Highway Place, generally located north of South Magnolia Avenue, east of South Orange Avenue, and west of South Roslyn Avenue and South Magnolia Avenue, generally located north of Jenny Jewel Drive, south of Highway Place, east of South Orange Avenue, and west of South Roslyn Avenue, both described in Lake Jenny Jewel Heights plat, as recorded in Plat Book J, page 129 of the Public Records of Orange County, and together comprised of 0.83 acres of land, more or less, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Burns. Madam Clerk, any testimony?
No speakers, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2.
Ordinance number 2021-78, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning a portion of Centerline Drive, generally located south of Laureate Boulevard, northeast of the Orlando VA Medical Center, and northwest of Kellogg Avenue, as described in the Hartwell Court Lake Nona Plat, as recorded in Plat Book 76, pages 45 to 50 of the Public Records of Orange County, and together comprised of 0.3 acres of land more or less, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, I think it's Commissioner Stewart with a second.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, is there anyone that wishes to testify?
No speakers, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 3.
Ordinance number 2022-5, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning a portion of Alexandra Place east of Chatton Avenue, comprised of 0.07 acres of land more or less, providing for conditions of abandonment, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
That's fine.
Somebody making a motion out there?
Commissioner Hill?
Second.
I didn't hear the maker, Madam Clerk.
It was moved by Commissioner Sheehan, seconded by Commissioner Burns.
Okay. Any cards for testimony?
No speakers, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 3.
Nope, just did it.
We just finished number 3. We're on to ordinances first reading number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, ordinances, we're skipping number 1. That's been deleted, so number 2.
Ordinance number 2022-6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to addressing standards for properties facing a muse or common open space, amending Chapter 65, Part 4I, Section 65.537 of the Land Development Code to clarify addressing standards, providing legislative findings, and for codification, correction, and scrivener's error, severability, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk, cards?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 3.
Ordinance number 2022-9, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the development program for the northwest out parcel of the International Drive Resort Plan Development Zoning District, which is generally located north of Vanguard Street, south of Oak Ridge Road, east of International Drive, and west of the Florida Turnpike, and comprised of approximately 9.52 acres, amending the Planned Development District's development plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Burns,
Second by Commissioner Sheehan.
second by Commissioner Sheehan. Cards?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4.
Ordinance number 2022-11, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, extending the temporary moratorium of new permits and permit renewals for the continuous use of sound amplification devices within the public rights-of-way and the downtown entertainment area, providing legislative findings, severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Do we have speakers, Madam Clerk?
We did receive 5 requests to speak. The first from Doug Taylor, who has indicated will no longer be speaking. Next is Dominic Greco, appearing in person, who does not appear to be in chambers. Third is Jeffrey Guido, appearing in person, who is not in chambers. Fourth is Kevin Young, in person, also not in chambers. And our last speaker is Luana Gelzer, appearing via Zoom. Ms. Gelzer, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Luana Gelzer, 815 Hill Street. I'm speaking, but I'm going to start by saying in 1990, the Clean Act, Title IV, noise pollution. Noise pollution adversely affect lives of millions of people. Studies have shown that is directly linked to health issues. It also is related to stress related, high blood pressures, hearing loss, sleep deprivation, and loss of, it's just, I see this, I am more concerned about where you selected to go forward with this. The last 6 months have been a rude awakening to see noise pollution firsthand, because I would leave the area when it was a soccer game or other things. But now that I'm rehabbing and doing some other things here locally, I can see the noise pollution on the west side of town and how it's affecting the community. So I'm very concerned about how we selected downtown, but not where noise pollution is rampant in the Paramore community. I also had to leave the area for 4 nights and pay for a hotel when the Electric Daisy Carnival was here. The noise was unbelievable. I thought I could hear it in Metro West, but Lord have mercy, I had no choice but to leave. And to see that certain organizations, I don't want no money from the city, but certain neighborhood associations were granted $2,500 or $5,000 to shut up or be quiet or say it's okay. Noise pollution is a problem, but what I see here is selective amnesia, or that we're only talking about downtown and linking it to crime, when it affects people throughout the CRA zone downtown. We can't just draw the line right downtown when the CRA goes all the way up to the Citrus Bowl. I'm always call it the Citrus Bowl, Camping World Stadium, down Church Street, the soccer stadium. There's other problems and other people that are dealing with noise pollution. When will you look at what is happening throughout the district and not a selected part of the district? And you can say it's about crime, safety, you can say whatever, they're not getting complaints. Why? We call, it falls on deaf ears. So you can say everybody's saying it's good now downtown, but what about a study of noise pollution throughout the CRA zone, the downtown development zone? Because it is affecting more people than you could ever imagine. So you can vote for this, spend another $1 million of our tax dollars, but the people who mostly affected have suffered from this the longest is left off the table. That is systemic racism, and that is the problem with the city of Orlando. Have a wonderful day.
Madam Clerk, do we have any further cards?
That is all our speakers, Mayor.
All right, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And number 5, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2022-12, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located east of Peel Avenue, north of East Grant Street, and west of Sioux Haven Drive, and comprised of 1.87 acres of land, more or less, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as residential medium intensity on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as 1 to 5 family residential on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan. Who's the second?
Commissioner Burns.
Second by Commissioner Burns. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
No speakers, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, Ed, if you or PJ get us in position for general appearance.